What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. We've talked a lot this year about the strength of Oklahoma City being their defense. And we've gone over all the reasons why. They have a ton of good perimeter defenders that they can keep cycling into the game to wear out ball handlers. They can apply excellent ball pressure for 48 minutes. They have these aggressive game plans that suit their team speed really, really well. It's the right type of game plan to go with the type of roster that they have. They're super sharp in rotation on the back end to make these like perceived openings disappear in a flash. Their rim protection is legit with Chet Holmgren on the floor. But I want to zero in specifically on the concept of defending superstars for a minute. Because, like, superstars are scheme breakers. They're personnel breakers. Like, oh, you have Anthony Davis. He's, in my opinion, the best defensive player in the league when he's healthy and in shape. Well, it turns out he can't guard Nikola Jokic. So the Lakers' greatest defensive weapon was basically neutralized, and it led to a few years of dominance in that matchup, if you guys remember. Oh, you have Jaden McDaniels. He's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Well, it turns out he can't guard Luka Doncic. So in that matchup in the Western Conference Finals last year, the strength of Minnesota's perimeter defense was neutralized, and the Mavs ended up thrashing the Wolves. This is a thing that can happen. A superstar can break a scheme. A superstar can break even personnel strengths. One of the non-negotiable barriers that stands between any great team and a championship is the ability to go head-to-head with the best players in the world and come out on top. For the Thunder in the West, you've got Nikola Jokic. You've got Luka Doncic. LeBron James, before his injury, was playing at near that level. Not quite that level, but near that level. Steph Curry is coming on strong. Anthony Edwards is a type of threat that you have to face in the Western Conference. And one of the traits of this OKC defense, something that makes them so dangerous, is their ability to match up with the top players in the league. They've had their issues with Jokic over the years because it seems like nobody can guard that guy, but he's literally the best player in the world. And OKC can have success against him on the other end of the floor. Even the game they dropped to Denver the other day, a week ago or so, it was a weird game. They played really well in the first half, had a lead, dropped 73 points. J-Dub gets hurt. They double team Shai every time he crosses half court. It allows them to gimmick their way into a win. But, like, that's a matchup that they've done pretty well against. They have one of the best players in the league to match up against Luka, LeBron, Kawhi, Jason Tatum, those big, strong matchup attacking forwards. Lou Dort is literally one of the very best options in the NBA for that type of matchup. He's uniquely strong enough to keep his base. Most of the success that those players have comes down to bullying and dislodging defenders from their base so they can get separation and get great shots. Lou Dort, in many cases, is the guy dislodging them from their base and forcing them to play off balance and causing them to miss a lot of shots that they normally make. It's a huge asset to have specifically in the Western Conference with the types of teams that you have to face coming out of there and for a potential Boston matchup with Jason Tatum. And then in this game against Milwaukee, they demonstrated that they have athletes for two of the other types of world-beating stars. They held Dame and Giannis to just 40 points and held both of them to below 50% from the field. They held Giannis to his lowest field goal percentage game of this entire season. They have excellent guards to match up with all the different types of star guards in the league that you can run into in any playoff matchup or any regular season game. I thought Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso were both fantastic in their reps against Damian Lillard last night, applying ball pressure up and down the court, staying attached in screening actions and pressuring the ball from behind, swatting, getting hands on the basketball. Great contests on everything. Dame, of his 19 points, managed just 7 points on the ball. 12 of his 19 points came off of spot ups, meaning one of his other teammates made a play that got OKC in rotation, forced Cason or Alex to help, which allowed Dame to get an open catch and shoot look, or on a random weird play. Like there was a random play where Caruso stripped Damian Lillard clean underneath the basket, and the ball just happened to pop right back into Dame's hands and he drew a foul. And then Dame got fouled on a jump ball and just like him and Alex wrestling for position off the ball. But like they had him strapped up in the on-ball situations. If you hold Dame to 7 points on the ball, you're going to give yourself a really good chance to stop that Milwaukee offense. And like that's not just a Dame thing. Whether it's Steph, it could be any of the great guards in this league. They are built to handle those guards really well. And then I thought Isaiah Hartenstein did about as good a job playing positional defense against Giannis as you can. Again, when I say positional defense, to me, that's positioning yourself between a player and the rim and at least forcing them to make over-the-top shots. Defense against these types of players is very different than, think like Paolo Banchero, for example, or LeBron James, for example. These like big bully ball forwards that aren't super comfortable shooting jump shots. Now, LeBron has become much better at that over the years, so maybe he's a bad example, but you get the point. Like these big bully ball players that you kind of want to take jump shots and floaters and hooks and stuff like that. Just position yourself between that player and the rim, and you're doing your job. Anytime he got anybody else on him in this game, it was a double team, easy skip pass, in rotation, getting great looks. Giannis was able to consistently generate great stuff against anybody that wasn't Isaiah Hartenstein. But Hartenstein has that combination of a little bit of mobility, and he's big and strong as a center to where Giannis isn't looking at him like I can go right through him. With Giannis, like he doesn't even really have to make a move to get by most people because he's so big and strong. If he just rips through, even if the defender slides his feet, there's usually just a tiny bit of an opening, and Giannis is going to hit that with physicality and get his shoulder in there. He has that move too where he'll gather and like chicken wing with his arm as he goes to the rim. Like he's impossible to guard when you're giving up that much size and weight, because even if you get in front of him, he's just going to get his way around you by using his physicality, right? But Isaiah Hartenstein, because he has that mobility and size and strength, Giannis actually has to make a good enough move to force Isaiah Hartenstein to lunge out of position in order for him to get all the way to the basket. And so that allowed Hartenstein to do a really nice job on Giannis, forcing him into those over-the-top shots. Again, in last night's game, Hartenstein and the Thunder as a team held Giannis to below 47% from the field. It was literally his least efficient field goal percentage game of the entire season. And and I haven't even mentioned the fact that Hartenstein had 24 points last night. He had 22 on cuts. He made 5 of his patented floaters. He had a great game. I've been consistent on the record that I have concerns about OKC's offense in a playoff context. I do think they have a tendency to get into these extended stretches of ugly basketball on that end of the floor that makes them more vulnerable than their record would lead you to believe. But make no mistake, this defense is legit, and not like cute 2021 Utah Jazz regular season legit. They are versatile, playoff ready, able to handle the types of challenges that await them in the Western Conference playoffs type of legit on the defensive end of the floor. It's going to keep them in every series. Like, I don't think, even if OKC loses, this isn't going to be a sweep or a 5-game series. Their defense is so good, it's going to keep them in any series. They're going to be very, very difficult to beat 4 times in a 2-week span. Couple other shout-outs from this game. I thought Kenrich Williams was amazing, kind of similar to what we talked about with Jordan Goodwin earlier. I thought he just helped set the defensive tone right away early, flying around in rotation, making extra efforts. He was a guy in many cases that was rotating to Brook Lopez and pick and pops, which is a foundational release valve for the Bucks offense and one of the hardest actions to guard, but it just requires a good amount of speed on the weak side. He logged 0 points in this game and only 1 steal, and I thought Kenrich was awesome in his minutes. Chet was really great on offense in this game. He continues to hit threes. He hit 2 last night. He's made 5 of his last 10. And it caused some overreaction from Milwaukee's defense. Both Taurean Prince and Giannis bit on pump fakes, on kickouts to Chet that led to points. He drove on Taurean and got a floater on the Giannis one. He ended up drawing a foul. He gave up, the Thunder ended up getting an easy dunk on a play where Chet kind of relocated up to the right wing. And Taurean Prince, who should have been the low man, instead of protecting the rim, overplayed Chet at the 3-point line and gave up a dunk. That's all a product of the fear of Chet's shooting. because of how well he's been shooting the ball over the last couple of games. He also did some nice work in action too. The two most common actions they'll run with him is like a 2-man game right around the foul line in the middle of the floor with him and Hartenstein trying to force big bodies to guard in screening actions. And then they'll run a lot of wide pin down stuff where they'll like set him in the corner and have a guard screen down for him so that the team doesn't want to switch and try to see if they can get him coming downhill with the ball catching on the move going downhill. He's really starting to blossom into an incredible player. I thought he was fantastic. And last shout out, SGA is becoming one of the greatest shows in the league. I've seen a lot of people complaining about his foul grifting or like shoving people off with his off arm. And like the grifting is a league-wide problem. And yeah, Shai is better at it than most, but like I'm never going to judge the players for that because to me, it's a competitive advantage. And Shai's just like, imagine being Shai. You're on a team with a bunch of super young players and so much of the offensive workload falls on your plate. You got to find a way to get some easy points in there, and foul grifting is the way he's doing it. And again, everyone has access to those moves. He's just better at it than most. And eventually the league, I hope, will legislate it out, but it is part of the game at this point. The off-arm stuff, this is where I think the complaints from people are ridiculous. All throughout NBA history, we've had players that use their physical advantages to dominate. Like Shaq bully balls everybody. LeBron bully balls everybody. Giannis bully balls everybody. Luka bully balls everybody. Jokic is just rumbling, stumbling to the rim nonstop. Like, we have to be okay with it from guards too. And the thing with Shai is he's really good at getting a defender out of position to where they're leaning back. And you see it. He did it against Kuzma a couple times last night where it's like he sees Kuzma in a retreat positional defense stance. And so he just drives really hard and gets that shoulder into him and bumps him off a little bit. And by the way, he does get called for offensive fouls occasionally when he really extends that arm. But a lot of times he doesn't extend the arm. A lot of times he just kind of gets you with his shoulder. And he's so strong on his base that he'll bump you with his shoulder and get plenty of separation. And I have no problem with that at all because that to me is what the game of basketball is. It's physical. It's a contact sport. It gets even more physical when you get into the postseason. And all throughout NBA history, we've allowed these big, strong dudes to throw people around. I have no problem with Shai doing it too. But even if you set that stuff aside and you just watch him play, he's starting to break people off with these dribble combinations that are sending defenders into a different area code. And it's because he can chain together multiple dribble combinations, multiple pieces of footwork. I've talked about this concept before. He doesn't go into a sequence like telegraphing what he's going to do. He starts with just a hard drive in one of the directions, whether it's that hesitation between the legs dribble going left or the hesitation between the legs dribble going right. He kind of slowly do the between the legs dribble, and as soon as it hits his driving hand, the hand that's on the strong side that he's driving to, he'll just explode forward. He gets a lot of that hesitation quickness. It's like a first step combined with a change of pace kind of thing. But he's just going to go. And then if you cut off that side, he's pulling it back through the legs and he's going the other way. And if you cut him off that side, he's pulling it back through the legs and he's going the other way. It's all just like a relentless change of direction, but he's just so good at using that pullback dribble between his legs. And in those situations, he's generating contact a lot of times and bumping guys off that it's kind of just like, do I need to do it once, twice, three, or three times to get to my spot? Well, regardless of how many times you defend it right, I'm eventually going to get to my spot. And like, again, there are some of these guys that he's going up against and they're biting so hard on one of the moves that he's getting like 10, 12, 15 feet of separation on that pullback dribble. It's wild to me. And again, like, it's not just fun to watch. There's a lot of good stuff in there for young basketball players to emulate that will help you get to the next level. That getting that shoulder contact and then quick scissor dribble between your legs is an excellent way to deal with ball pressure or to get separation when a defender is pressuring you. It just takes a lot of that contact ball handling ability, the ability to dribble while you're dealing with contact. And again, like, it's just all of it is just super tight handle, super tight footwork, and the ability to chain every single move together with hesitation dribbles just ties together this player that is like entirely unpredictable and extremely difficult to keep in front. And I've really, really enjoyed watching him over the course of this season.